Tribe, I become invincible with my 10,000 times bonus from the start. Chapter 151, Maddened Priests. Hourglass of Time. Description, an hourglass of unknown use. Level, 1. Grade, unknown. Type, unknown. Attribute 1, Song of Time. Territory activities and construction time plus 1000%. This skill can be used on specific buildings. Attribute 2, Domain of Time. All enemy units within a 300,000 yard radius will have their time frozen. The duration is related to the player's available mana. Each use will cost 1000 small divine crystals. Cooldown, 7 days. Looking at the hourglass's attributes, Li Cheng's pupils constricted. This was the first time he had seen a time-related equipment. This equipment was indeed a little too strong. The flow of time had increased tenfold. In other words, other players' 11-day efforts equated to his single-day efforts. Li Cheng looked at the exquisite hourglass in his hand. Although it only had 2 skills, both of them were extremely terrifying. The first skill directly increased the time flow of his territory by 1000%. In other words, if it was used on a recruitment building, the number and speed of recruitment would increase by 10 times. If it was used on a defensive building, the attack speed would increase by 10 times. If it was used on a special building, the effect would also increase by 10 times. When he thought of this, Li Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. He really could not think of any words to describe it. After obtaining this equipment, even an idiot would be able to fly in an instant. For Li Cheng, it was an extremely powerful enhancement. The current Li Cheng did not lack anything. The only thing he lacked was time, but now that he had the hourglass of time, it would undoubtedly increase his development speed by countless times. Li Cheng understood now. No wonder the goddess of darkness had sent 2 legendary grade priests and millions of elite troops to the shadow world. These troops might not mean much to the Church of Darkness, but this was the shadow world. Even the goddess of darkness herself would have to be wary of the shadow dragon. These troops had snuck in secretly. She did not dare to send the crown troops or the divine troops. The mythical grade priests did not show up either. Their energy fluctuations were extremely great, so if they appeared in the shadow world, they would have been detected by the shadow dragon. The battle continued. At this time, countless believers of the Church of Darkness swarmed over as if they did not care about their lives. The remaining 10 or so epic grade priests also knew that if Li Cheng left with the hourglass of time, they were as good as dead. The 10 epic grade priests were thrown into chaos. Everyone, do your best. The goddess has been planning to get this weapon for thousands of years. We can't let him take it away. Kill him. Anyone who steps back will be sacrificed when we get back. What kind of army is this? They're immune to all the attacks and skills of the high-tier army. Quick, get the Dark Knights here. The Church of Darkness was quite efficient. In less than a minute, the Dark Knights who were emitting a strong evil aura rushed over. There were at least several million of them. Their leader was a legendary Dark Knight. His entire body was emitting an extremely dark light. When they saw the Dark Knights coming over, all the priests heaved a sigh of relief. The Dark Knights were the most elite troops of the Church of Darkness, especially this batch. All of them were at the maximum level, and their equipment columns were filled with 4 legendary equipment. This army was definitely not a match for them even in the main plane. At this moment, the leader of the Dark Knights suddenly waved the pitch-black longsword in his hand. Upon receiving the order to attack, his subordinates began to move. Ta, ta, ta. Countless Dark Knights instantly charged forward as their figures instantly transformed into countless pitch-black streamers. In an instant, a Dark Knight with powerful kinetic energy fiercely struck a young lady priest with the longsword in his hand. These Dark Knights could be considered smart. Naturally, they would not attack those seemingly fleshy profound puppets. However, what happened next left them dumbfounded. 0. Countless priests widened their eyes, and even the Dark Knight who had been charging forward was flabbergasted. As for the Dark Knight commander, he almost fell off his horse. He rubbed his eyes and realized that he had not seen wrongly. She really was immune. This meant that they could not break through Li Cheng's defense. It was one thing if they could not break through the defense of the profound puppets, but this was the F***ing priestess. She was just a healer. His heart was in a mess and he was in a bad mood. At this time, the remaining Dark Knight's charge arrived, and then 0, 0, 0. Countless numbers floated out, and the scene was extremely strange. The Dark Knights took 7 or 8 turns before they finally found an angle of attack. They cut into Li Cheng's fragile units with the full charge of the tall war horses. Yet, the priests wearing pure white armor and long robes did not move. This was naturally within Li Cheng's expectations. The offensive and defensive values of his troops were now extremely terrifying. Even if champion troops came, they might not be able to break through their defenses, let alone these legendary troops. At this time, Li Cheng ordered all his units to start clearing the monsters. After giving a few powerful AoE skills to his troops, with the super high attack bonus, the profound puppets and the priest's AoE skills were pulled to the max. A normal attack from them instantly exploded with a dazzling chain of lightning, instantly killing a large number of Dark Knights. This scene left all the priests dumbfounded. Were these F***ing priests? Were they not great mages who were wearing priest ladies' clothes and lying to them? The believers of the Church of Darkness simply could not accept this result. Those Dark Knights also could not accept it. A grand legendary troop actually died under the normal attack of a healer priest. Who were they? No one would believe them, right? The system notifications kept ringing in his ears. Li Cheng led his troops and slowly made their way to the outer perimeter of the church. However, they had only left for a few minutes when the system notification rang again. At the same time, a sense of trepidation came from within his soul. Ding, dong. Warning. News that the hourglass of time has been repaired has been received by the goddess of darkness. She's about to enter the shadow world with her true body. Please, evacuate immediately. Ding, dong. Warning. News that the hourglass of time has been repaired has been received by the goddess of darkness. She's about to enter the shadow world with her true body. Please, evacuate immediately. Ding, dong. Warning. News that the hourglass of time has been repaired has been received by the goddess of darkness. She's about to enter the shadow world with her true body. Please, evacuate immediately. The notification rang 3 times before it stopped. Chapter 152, The True Body of the Goddess of Darkness. Li Cheng's eyes widened at the sound of the system notification. The true body of the Goddess of Darkness was going to enter the shadow world? Are you F***ing for real? You're going to play like this? Is it too much? Thinking of this, Li Cheng could not help but sigh. The Goddess of Darkness was indeed worthy of being the leader of the evil camp. She did not play by the rules at all. Generally speaking, gods would not leave their own divine kingdom. Even those weak gods could not be seen like this on normal days, not to mention such a powerful god like the Goddess of Darkness. It was at this time that 2 voices were heard in Li Cheng's ears. Li Cheng, leave quickly. Li Cheng, that old witch, the Goddess of Darkness, is really coming. Come to my divine kingdom to seek refuge. It was Ella and Trella Fanny's voice. Li Cheng was about to reply when a cold voice was suddenly heard. It's too late, human. Have you thought of a way to die? As soon as she finished speaking, a pitch-black figure slowly took shape in front of Li Cheng. In less than a second, it turned into the appearance of a young girl who was about 18 years old. Her entire body was covered by a tight-fitting black dress. Her eyes were also pitch black to the extreme and they were currently releasing an extremely terrifying pressure. Seeing this young girl, Li Cheng's pupils constricted again. He cast a detection spell and information about the Goddess of Darkness immediately appeared in front of him. Goddess of Darkness. Description: it is rumored that after the God of Creation created the world gave birth to two gods, and the Goddess of Darkness is one of them. Grade: Immortal. Level: HP. Attack. Defense. Skills. After seeing the Goddess of Darkness's true form, countless believers of the Church of Darkness prostrated themselves on the ground. The commander of the Dark Knights also quickly knelt down on one knee. At this moment, the system notification rang in Li Cheng's ears. Ding, dong, due to unknown reasons, you've received the fear buff. All units' movement and attack speed has been reduced by 100%. World announcement. A terrifying and powerful existence has descended in the south of the Shadow World at 58425-68721. All players are requested to stay away and evacuate immediately. Ding, dong, because of the Moon Dance Goddess's highest level blessing, you're immune to the fear buff. As the system's voice fell, Li Cheng took a deep breath. Yes, this mysterious terrifying feeling was indeed from the true body of a god. Ordinary incarnations and gods who descended did not elicit this feeling. Moreover, this was one of the strongest gods, the true body of the Goddess of Darkness. Seeing this, Li Cheng could not help but feel a little nervous. It was not that he had not seen the true body of a god in his previous life before, but this was the first time he had felt such a powerful pressure. However, although Trelafani was a weak chicken, coupled with Li Cheng's own willpower, he was still immune to her pressure. Seeing that Li Cheng was immune to her pressure, the Goddess of Darkness snorted coldly, "Two annoying little girls, I'll find you and settle the score in the future." After saying that, the Goddess of Darkness waved her hand and the system's notification immediately appeared in Li Cheng's ear. Ding, dong, due to unknown reasons, you've lost contact with the Moon Dance Goddess. Ding, dong, due to unknown reasons, you've lost contact with the Phantom Goddess. Ding, dong, due to unknown reasons, you've lost contact with the God of Light. With just a simple wave of her hand, Li Cheng lost the ability to contact his three related gods. Li Cheng blinked and said, "This old virgin in front of me is really strong." After cutting off the connection between Li Cheng and the other gods, the Goddess of Darkness was not in a hurry at the moment. She looked at Li Cheng with great interest. After a few seconds, she opened her mouth and said, "Human, I can feel that you're not a devout paladin. Now, I'll give you a chance. Be loyal to me, and I'll give you rewards and power that are 100 times higher than that of the Church of Light. Otherwise, your soul will disappear forever." As the voice of the Goddess of Darkness fell, the system's notification rang in Li Cheng's ears again. Ding, dong, the Goddess of Darkness invites you to join the Church of Darkness. Do you agree? Ding, dong, if you agree, you'll receive the following rewards. Firstly, you'll become the 5th priest of the Church of Darkness. Secondly, you'll be a Marquis of the Church of Darkness. Thirdly, you'll be able to command 300 billion crown troops of the Church of Darkness. Fourthly, you'll advance to the Hidden SS class, Supreme Dark Mage. Fifthly, you'll receive territory belonging to the Goddess of Darkness, free of charge. Seeing the message that popped up in the system, Li Cheng raised his eyebrows. It seemed that Goddess of Darkness recruited him because of his high reputation points. There were probably only a few people in the entire Lost Continent who could make the Goddess of Darkness recruit people, right? Li Cheng vaguely remembered that the Church of Darkness had a total of 24 relatively powerful priests. They were at least mythical grade existences, and the 5th priest was only second to the 4 who were peak mythical priests. His authority in the Church of Darkness would be extremely high. The Marquis title of the Church of Darkness was similar to the titles of the Church of Light. They also had a series of privileges. Next was the 300 billion crown soldiers. This power was truly very terrifying. A hidden SS class was also very rare. There were only a few of them in the entire continent. For the same reason as the Church of Light, the various attributes of his territory would be increased. When he saw this, Li Cheng had to say that the conditions given by the Goddess of Darkness were very sincere. If everlasting was here, his expression would probably be very interesting. He had used up decades of his credit in exchange for an epic grade boss. Not to mention exchanging for the title, even exchanging for a low-level soldier would be a problem for him. Now, Li Cheng could get something he could never have in his entire life. This was too unfair. However, facing these conditions, Li Cheng was still in disdain. The conditions looked good and the pie was very big, but what kind of person was the Goddess of Darkness? No one knew, so how could Li Cheng know? Conspirator and someone who would go back on her words. Was that not her pronouns? Li Cheng did not believe every word she said. What made Li Cheng most unhappy was that she had a high and mighty look on her face, and she decided to offer him benefits. Was she so sure that he did not have the means to resist? Chapter 153, Time Freeze, Goddess of Darkness. Seeing the Goddess of Darkness acting all high and mighty, Li Cheng was very displeased. Was she so sure of him? Thinking of this, Li Cheng had already made a decision in his heart. Without batting an eyelid, he said, "The conditions are very good, but I'd like to add one more condition." The Goddess of Darkness nodded. "Go ahead." Li Cheng looked at her face that was covered with pitch-black energy and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He said, "I heard that Her Highness the Goddess has never shown her true face. For countless years, no one has been able to see your beautiful face. If Her Highness the Goddess can give me a few of your nicer pictures, I can consider joining you. For example, a picture of you in a bikini or something. I'm not very picky." As Li Cheng's words fell, the priests who were trembling on the ground were stunned. The leader of the Dark Knights who was kneeling on one knee was also stunned. Their minds instantly froze. What did they just hear? Who the *ck dared to say such words to the Goddess of Darkness? Indeed, the longer they lived, the more they saw. However, when they saw this scene, their hearts trembled. If the Goddess of Darkness were to get angry, she would not acknowledge them. It was very likely that with one punch, all of them would be finished. When the Goddess of Darkness heard Li Cheng's words, she was also stunned. How many years had it been? How many years had it been since someone dared to speak to her like that? How did the last person who spoke to her like that die? She could not remember. Very quickly, her aura became even colder. She said emotionlessly, "It seems that you've already made your choice." After saying that, a ball of pitch-black terrifying energy appeared on the tip of her fair, slender fingers. It was about to be thrown at Li Cheng in the blink of an eye. Seeing this scene, Lillian, who had been standing by the side, silently moved a few steps toward Li Cheng. Li Cheng also made a prompt decision and instantly activated his skill. Ding, dong, you've activated Domain of Time. Ding, dong, the Domain of Time's current duration is 265 seconds. After the system's voice fell, Li Cheng took a deep breath and a trace of ecstasy flashed in his eyes. In the description of the hourglass of time, he had discovered that there were no restrictions when using this skill at all. In other words, this was a supreme artifact that was above even the immortal god. Even a god could not escape its control. Looking at the Goddess of Darkness who was completely motionless in front of him, Li Cheng touched his chin. The Goddess of Darkness's time had been frozen. Such an opportunity was rare. Should he do something about it? Time was tight. With Li Cheng's current ability, he could only pause time for less than 5 minutes. However, even if he only had 5 minutes, he could still do something significant. Of course, Li Cheng could not defeat the Goddess of Darkness in front of everyone. With Li Cheng's strength, 5 minutes was simply not enough. He thought about it. The hourglass of time was only effective against enemy units. Currently, all his troops could move around. However, the problem was that even if Li Cheng had the true damage caused by the Heart of Massacre, coupled with the 30 times buff, 5 minutes was still not enough to cause any significant damage to the Goddess of Darkness. Therefore, retreating now was the best choice. However, was Li Cheng such a person? Obviously not. Li Cheng sneered. Since the Goddess of Darkness was so arrogant, how could he not take advantage of her? When he thought of this, Li Cheng did not hesitate. He directly went in front of her and raised his hand to slap her. Pa! Li Cheng had slapped the Goddess of Darkness in the face. A damage number immediately jumped out as her head moved slightly to the side. With Li Cheng's current strength, this slap could probably kill a legendary soldier. However, he did not feel anything in his palm. It was automatically isolated by an invisible force. Li Cheng muttered, as expected, her divine power's still too strong. Although its true damage, it's still too low. Seeing that the attack did not cause any damage, Li Cheng's face revealed a sly smile. He immediately turned on the system's camera function, and with another slap, a number gently floated out. At the same time, Li Cheng pressed the shutter, and with a kaka sound, he took a picture. Looking at the picture, Li Cheng nodded his head in satisfaction. The scene of beating up this goddess was very clear in the picture. Then, he said to the few female heroes, "You guys, beat her up together. Beat her to death." Sylvia and Luna looked at each other. What had happened was really unbelievable, and for a moment, they did not react. This was the Goddess of Darkness after all. Both of them had thought about returning to the territory to resurrect, but time suddenly stopped. There was actually such a thing? Among the few heroines, Lillian reacted the fastest. Her small fists landed on the Goddess of Darkness's stomach. Bang! The goddess's body instantly flew backward like a sandbag. Lillian's attributes were somewhat strong at the moment, so her damage was naturally much higher. However, the goddess's health bar was still unmoving. He knew how much health she had, so physical and magic attacks did not affect her at all. It was better to use a spiritual attack. Although he had said so much, Li Cheng had never used this before. Kika! 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 3 minutes later, Sylvia had already transformed into a dragon. She waved her sharp dragon claws and fiercely slapped the goddess's face. At the same time, Li Cheng ordered his troops to begin attacking. All the buffs were activated. After 3 minutes of concentrated fire, the goddess's health bar was still unmoving. It had to be said that as a god who had maxed out her level, the Goddess of Darkness was very strong. Her total health was simply insane. Suddenly, there was a crack, as if something was breaking. Li Cheng's eyelids twitched. He was sure that it was not the sound of him pressing the shutter. Then, he looked at the Goddess of Darkness and found that her mask was cracking. Li Cheng became alert. He thought about her mask. Would the divine power be replenished in time? When he thought of this, he did not hesitate to order all the troops to focus on her mask. Hit her face. Instantly, countless attacks landed accurately on the black mask on her face. Soon, after about 30 seconds. Boom! The Goddess of Darkness's entire body hit the ground majestically, raising clouds of smoke. In the next moment, Li Cheng's eyes widened. Chapter 154, Selling Artistic Photographs of the Goddess of Darkness. In a bottomless pit, the body of the Goddess of Darkness lay in an inelegant manner. What surprised Li Cheng was that the mask made of dark divine power had completely shattered, revealing a cold and flawless face. Her delicate skin was flawless, and her exquisite facial features were so beautiful that they could dazzle the eyes. Even Li Cheng was stunned when he saw it for the first time. At this time, he raised his hand and asked the troops to stop attacking. If they continued to attack now, it would be meaningless. No matter how much damage was done, it would not cause her any harm. A god at her level had already become one with the rules of the world. If they wanted to hurt her, they would have to increase the size of their troops by thousands or tens of thousands. At this time, Li Cheng naturally took a lot of pictures. As he was taking the pictures, he grew quite curious. The goddess of darkness was obviously very beautiful. Why did she cover her face for hundreds of thousands of years and let the enemy call her an old witch and an old maid? After taking pictures, Li Cheng looked at the time and found that less than 30 seconds had passed. He did not hesitate and immediately opened the shadow passage. Then, he brought his army back to his territory in a flash. 30 seconds passed in a flash. The mysterious golden light disappeared in an instant and the gears of time started to turn again. The goddess of darkness blinked in confusion and looked around. What was going on? Why was she in a deep pit? Before she had time to think, she felt a slight breeze on her face and her body trembled. In the next moment, dark energy condensed and a dark mask appeared over her face again. At the same time, her angered voice resounded throughout the entire shadow world. Netherworld. Very good, you've successfully angered me. Prepare to bear my wrath. At this time, Li Cheng had already returned to his territory. He hurriedly closed the passage of the shadow world, shutting it tight. Was he afraid that the goddess of darkness would come to his territory? Li Cheng indicated that if she had the ability, she could come. If the goddess of darkness's true body appeared in the main plane, countless gods would come looking for her at any moment. If she used her incarnation or god's descent, Li Cheng could then teach her how to be less arrogant. When Li Cheng returned to his territory, the voices of Trella Fanny and Ella immediately rang in his mind. Li Cheng, what did you do? Did that old witch let you off? The two of them had been cut off by the goddess of darkness. Their divine power could not penetrate the goddess of darkness's divine power. In front of the goddess of darkness, they could not even descend with their true bodies and fight for their lives. Hearing their words, Li Cheng did not answer. Instead, he smiled and said, "We'll talk about that later. I have some good things to show you now." Trella Fanny and Ella were stunned at the same time. What? Li Cheng chuckled and let their incarnations come to his territory. Then, he showed them a few photos. In the photos, the goddess of darkness was being beaten up like a sandbag. Ah, this! The two goddesses let out cries of surprise. They were so shocked that they could not speak. They even said with some doubt, "Is that really her?" If not. Li Cheng shrugged with a playful expression. Trella Fanny and Ella looked at each other, completely in disbelief. However, they had to believe that in the photos, there was an extremely terrifying divine power fluctuation around the goddess of darkness. No one could fake a divine power fluctuation of this level. However, this was the F***ing goddess of darkness, the leader of the evil forces. Among the gods, she was one of the strongest, and she was being used as a sandbag, getting beaten up everywhere. Li Cheng continued to laugh evilly. Send these photos out and tell all the gods in the world that there are more exciting ones left. But they'll have to buy them with small unattributed divine power crystals. 3 for 1, no cheating. And you have to tell them that the more pictures they bought, the more exciting the rest will be. Hearing Li Cheng's words, the two goddesses were stunned, and then, there was a strange light that flashed in their eyes. This was a good idea. The goddess of darkness had countless enemies. With such explosive photos, they were not afraid that no one would buy it. At this time, Trella Fanny and Ella did not say anything. They were both goddesses who lacked divine power anyway. They immediately began to send mass messages to inform the various gods. Li Cheng sneered. This wave of divine power crystals was secondary. What was important was that it could directly cause the social death of the goddess of darkness. Soon, Trella Fanny and Ella sent the photos to the gods. For gods, having long lives usually meant that it was quite boring. Oh? What is this? Tisk, 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 interesting photos. Hehe, having lived for thousands of years, what have I not seen? What are you two little goddesses doing? Upon receiving the photo, the gods muttered a few words. Then, they opened the photo in boredom. Countless gods instantly widened their eyes, not daring to believe what they saw. What the f***ck? This is the goddess of darkness. Ah, it really is the goddess of darkness. Ha ha ha, the goddess of darkness was beaten up by a human. Oh. Tisk, tisk, tisk. That slap looks so good. I wish I could do that myself. Are there more? Are there more? The photos sent by Trella Fanny and Ella instantly excited all the gods. All of this was because of the goddess of darkness. She was too ruthless. She had always been ruthless to her enemies. She killed believers, plundered resources, and even attacked the divine kingdoms of others. There were countless gods that she had bullied, and the photos that Li Cheng took shocked them all. Even if the goddess of darkness was seriously injured, her divine power was very high. The number of gods that could actually exchange blows with her could be counted on one hand. Now, she was actually beaten up by a human? Such explosive news made the gods, who had always lamented that life was boring, instantly explode. One picture for 3 divine power crystals? This is too cheap. Buy. Moon Dance Goddess, is there anything more explosive? I'll take it all. Phantom Goddess, I want to buy 100 pictures. I don't have a lot of those crystals. Do you guys want to pool some crystals together? Chapter 155, The Gods of the Evil Camp Declare War. Pool together? Ella and Trella Fanny had already gotten Li Cheng's intention. They faintly threw out a few words. Pooling your crystals together is fine, but this thing can only be appreciated by oneself. It's forbidden to share. Otherwise, we'll release the news that you have an artistic photo of that old virgin in your hands. As soon as this news was released, all the gods were stunned. Some even sucked in a breath of cold air. Was that not too much? If this news were to spread to the goddess of darkness, that old witch would go crazy, no? For a moment, the gods were somewhat hesitant. It was not worth offending the goddess of darkness for a few photos. Even if they wanted to see it, they had to endure it. However, some gods were very curious and were not afraid of the goddess of darkness. Finally, a wild god made his move. His divine power was very powerful. Even the location of his divine kingdom was public, yet, no one dared to fight him. Even if the goddess of darkness came for him, he was not afraid at all. The system's notification rang in Li Cheng's ears instantly. Ding, dong, you've obtained 1,000 small pure divine power crystals. In Li Cheng's backpack, countless crystal-like objects appeared out of nowhere. They were the purest divine power crystals. Li Cheng did not need their divine power that had their own imprints. Naturally, he needed them to get rid of their imprints first. After the transaction was completed, the wild god received a series of packaged photos. After a few minutes, the wild god's laughter almost resounded throughout the entire universe. Ha 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 ha! The goddess of darkness, this old virgin actually faced such a day? Whose great treasure sword is this? It directly slapped her on her forehead? This slap is really satisfying. Ha ha ha, I can't take it anymore, I'm dying of laughter. Who is this wretched person that actually slapped her on the buttocks? Tisk, 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 don't tell me that this old virgin's buttocks are full of elasticity. Hearing this, Li Cheng coughed awkwardly. Can we keep this matter a secret? As the words of the wild god spread out, all the gods could no longer sit still. Spanking the goddess of darkness's butt? Full of elasticity? This was too ridiculous. Their originally quiet hearts were once again pierced. Thus, they could not hold it in any more. Bye. What's there to be afraid of? Yet, as long as no one makes a fuss about it, how would she know who bought her photos? Hehe, I don't care about that. I already bought them. Buy them first and enjoy. Hehe. For a moment, a series of system notifications rang in Li Cheng's ears. Ding, dong, you've obtained 300 small pure divine power crystals. Ding, dong, you've obtained 600 small pure divine power crystals. Ding, dong, you've obtained 1000 small pure divine power crystals. Ding, dong. Li Cheng was also slightly surprised. More than 50 gods had bought the pictures from him one after another. It seemed that the goddess of darkness had many enemies. At this time, his divine power crystals had also increased by more than 30,000. It was not a large number, but Li Cheng laughed cheekily. With this, he believed that the goddess of darkness would go crazy, right? In the Garden of Darkness, amidst countless pitch-black and strange giant flowers, the goddess of darkness sat on the throne wearily. This was her divine kingdom and her body was emitting an extremely terrifying aura. The hourglass of time was a supreme divine artifact that she had planned to seize for thousands of years. To repair the hourglass of time, she had sent her troops to millions of planes, but only managed to repair less than 20% of it. Now, it had actually been hijacked by Li Cheng? No one could bear it. Having something hijacked was an irreconcilable grudge. More importantly, she had been beaten up by a human like Li Cheng. At this moment, her eyes were emitting an extremely dangerous light. She only knew that the hourglass of time was very powerful. She did not expect that a human would be able to use it to stop time. She had clearly underestimated its power. It was countless times more terrifying than she had imagined. Just as she was thinking about this, a flower-shaped humanoid creature walked over shakily. Lady Goddess, that. The information that this humanoid creature had received made her fearful just thinking about talking to the goddess of darkness. At this moment, she was stuttering. What? The goddess of darkness frowned. There's a rumor among the gods that's very bad for the goddess in the end. The servant still spoke, but she lowered her head even more. What? The goddess of darkness continued asking. They said you were bullied by a human, and you were spanked by a human. After the willful creature finished saying this, she prostrated on the ground, trembling all over. The expression on the goddess's face froze, and it was obvious that she had not reacted yet. In the next moment, her body exploded with a monstrous black flame and the entire divine kingdom was covered by this terrifying pitch-black divine power. At that moment, Li Cheng, who was in his territory, heard the system notification. Ding, dong, the goddess of darkness has led the demon faction and declared war on you. Ding, dong, for unknown reasons, the god of tyranny has declared war on you. Your favorability has permanently been reduced by 200 points. Ding, dong, for unknown reasons, the god of destruction has declared war on you. Your favorability has permanently been reduced by 200 points. Ding, dong, for unknown reasons, the god of kobolds has declared war on you. Your favorability has permanently been reduced by 200 points. Ding, dong. More than 10 gods had declared war on Li Cheng, but he was not worried at all. These gods who had declared war were either the followers of the goddess of darkness or they were the more active existences in the evil camp. In any case, they would still fight as soon as they met, so it did not matter whether they declared war or not. On the contrary, their declaration of war would benefit Li Cheng, as the good camp would be more friendly toward him. Thinking of this, Li Cheng became even more anxious and prepared to farm for a period of time. With the effect of hourglass of time, the speed of farming was so fast that he could fly. Li Cheng did not hesitate and activated it immediately. Ding, dong. You've used the Song of Time on the frost shooting range. Ding, dong. You've used the Song of Time on the Heavenly Knight Academy. Ding, dong. You've used the Song of Time on the Frost Towers. Ding, dong. Chapter 156, 10 times the speed of construction. After this series of operations, Li Cheng's countless buildings were instantly built. With the Song of Time, the flow of time had increased by 10 times. With this, the daily production of the legendary soldiers' buildings reached 44,000 and the daily production of each crown soldier reached 11,000. Seeing this, Li Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air in shock. This was too fierce. Just 1 day's worth of production was equivalent to other players working for a lifetime. With the current speed, Li Cheng could quickly complete the third tier of his lord's quest. At this time, he also used the immortal wonder ancient demon god's cursed altar. Naturally, his target was the goddess of darkness. For a moment, the mysterious waves filled the area with an ominous aura that spread out like ripples. Then, the system's notifications rang in Li Cheng's ears. Ding, dong, your immortal wonder ancient demon god's cursed altar has taken effect. The currently selected god is the goddess of darkness. Ding, dong, before the immortal wonder ancient demon god's cursed altar is destroyed, the goddess of darkness's belief value has decreased by 90%. Ding, dong, warning. This action will completely infuriate the goddess of darkness. Please, be prepared. Hearing the notifications, Li Cheng merely chuckled. Completely infuriate her? She was already thoroughly infuriated, all right? Just the hourglass of time incident alone was something that should never be discussed, not to mention those erotic photos. The current curse was nothing to him. However, Li Cheng was naturally well prepared for the goddess of darkness's anger. First, there were all kinds of defensive facilities. Now that his crystal reserves were full and after the energy problem was solved, Li Cheng would not be stingy. Next, he placed 100,000 frost towers down on his territory. At the same time, he also placed 100,000 legendary profound energy cannons. The rumbling sounds in the territory were endless. The frost towers circled his territory a few times. The city walls were also densely covered with black cannons. With such a configuration, Li Cheng really did not believe that anyone could break into his territory. Even if a mythical grade boss came, it could be instantly killed. After settling these things, Li Cheng left everything else to Pearl's care. For example, the territory was expanding rapidly, and it was already connected to the nearby lords. Li Cheng ordered Pearl to destroy these people. There were also some treasure chests and resource points in the surroundings that she could explore. Hence, she could take this time to plunder the surrounding races. Those who were willing to join him would become his vassal races. Those who were not willing to join would either become slaves or be exterminated. In the dark, there was still the little lowly Tyavanas who was working hard. Her underground city would soon be on the right track. After dealing with all of this, Li Cheng closed his interface in satisfaction and let out a long sigh. He looked at the time and realized that the event in the Shadow World was about to end. The event had been going on for nearly 3 days. Less than an hour had passed since the end of all their activities. The players of the Divine Dragon Alliance were all glowing with excitement. They had made a lot of money from this large-scale event. Just the event points alone had earned everyone a lot of money. Although all the good items had been exchanged by Li Cheng, those Tier 2 soldiers were still pretty good to them. Moreover, Li Cheng also had a few powerful buffs, so everyone's experience points were all maxed out. In Tribe, the difference between a max-level soldier and a level 1 soldier was huge. The large-scale event had sped up the overall progress of the players of the Divine Dragon Alliance, leaving the players of the other alliances far behind. Moreover, after the event ended, the Divine Dragon Alliance players would still have 7 days of super buffs left. Everyone's attack and defense were increased by 50%. This was extremely useful when the game was still in its early stages. Meanwhile, the players from the other alliances were in a bad mood. The Eagle Alliance was in an uproar. *CK them, my soldiers are all starving to death. I want to file a complaint, this game isn't fair at all. *CK this dog, this Netherworld's definitely cheating. Help, I don't have any food left. If anyone has any food, I'll block bullets for you in the future. Guess who has more food at this time? All the Eagle Alliance players howled in grief. Li Cheng had closed the passage back to the main plane, and in the end, the troops could only starve to death. In the Heaven Guild, the voices of various systems rang in Eve's ears. Ding, dong, your troops are extremely hungry. Please, replenish your food. Ding, dong, your troops' morale is extremely low. A portion of the troops has already dispersed. Prepare to leave your territory. Ding, dong. As the system's voice rang out, Eve's face turned even gloomier. Her heart was bleeding as these troops were all Tier 8 troops. They were also her strongest troops. If her troops had died any other way, Eve would have accepted it, but to starve to death was too damn humiliating. Anyone would be humiliated. Suddenly, the system's voice rang in her ears again. Ding, dong, you're a rank hero. Ogre Chieftain's loyalty is too low. Prepare more food for your troops. Ding, dong, notification. If you refuse, Ogre Chieftain will immediately rebel. Hearing this notification, the corner of Eve's mouth twitched again. She took a deep breath, her eyes filled with fury as she roared furiously, Netherworld. The same scene played out in countless countries at the same time. After struggling to find food, the players' armies had reached their limit. Their troops had either collapsed, starved to death, or mutinied. At this moment, the system's voice rang once again. Ding, dong, the large-scale world event, Shadow Crisis, has ended. Ding, dong, this event's mission has been completed perfectly. Thank you all for your efforts. Ding, dong, all players will be forcefully removed from the Shadow World in 3 seconds. As the system's voice fell, a pale grey light appeared on every player's body. They were forcefully removed from the map by the system. However, the players whose shadow passages had been closed by Li Cheng heard a different voice from the system. Ding, dong. Warning. An unknown error has occurred. Your troops cannot return to the main plane. Ding, dong. Warning. An unknown error has occurred. Your troops cannot return to the main plane. Ding, dong. Ding, dong, you've died in battle. Your current EXP is 0. And your level is -1. Chapter 157, The First Tier 3 Lord. Waves of white light flashed brilliantly and the members of the various alliances were all resurrected in their own territories with dumbfounded expressions. Looking at the familiar scene of their own territories, they felt as if tears were welling up in their eyes. It had not been easy for them. They were happy to finally return to their own territories. However, they were the only ones who had returned. Their troops had all starved to death in the Shadow World. They all gathered to talk on the chat channel. What? My troops and heroes have all disappeared forever. F***ck, it really is true. Forget about the troops, my heroes didn't even revive in the Lord's Hall. At Tribe Game officials, explain yourselves. Where are our heroes? Mine was a B-class hero. Why haven't we gotten an explanation? We should be compensated. Their troops had all died, but what they could not accept was that their heroes had completely disappeared. It was easy to recruit soldiers, but it was different for heroes. The recruitment tokens for heroes were not sold in the trading hall and there were very few ways to obtain them. Usually, only after completing a hidden quest would the system reward them with those tokens. Their heroes were all from recruitment vouchers given by the system during the start of the game. Now, they had no more heroes. The heroes that they could recruit in the Hall of Heroes were all trash. The best of them were only D-rank heroes. When they thought of this, the faces of the players from the various alliances turned pale. Heroes were too important in the game. Without heroes, there was no point in playing it. Li Cheng naturally could not be bothered with the reactions of the players. Time flew by, and a whole day passed. With the super strong buff, the players from the Divine Dragon Alliance were raiding all kinds of secret realms. Various large guilds and gold farming teams had also issued detailed guides for the secret realms. Some low-level military recruitment authorities had also started to appear in the trading hall. Some of the better players were now able to recruit at least Tier 3 soldiers. As for the players from the other alliances, they could only watch helplessly. They had no way of stopping the rise of the Divine Dragon Alliance's players. Meanwhile, the changes in Li Cheng's territory were not small either. First, he had increased the skill improvement rates of his various soldiers by 10 times. After that, his level was immediately maxed out. Meanwhile, Luna's progress was also very smooth. After researching the various magic technology courses from the Royal Magic Academy, her level was also maxed out. The magic damage of all elements had been increased by 300%. The magic resistance was also increased to 80%. This effect made Li Cheng's heart skip a beat when he saw it. He could only sigh. As expected of the profound empire which had crushed countless gods. Its research on magic was really superb. Li Cheng began to recruit various types of soldiers. After the recruitment was done, Li Cheng's total military strength had reached a significant number. 64,000 frost marksmen, 64,000 heavenly knights, 20,000 frost dragons, 52,000 shadow assassins, 12,000 profound puppets, 8,680 holy light priests. When Li Cheng was done recruiting, the system notification rang in his ears again. Ding, dong, your third lord's quest has been completed. Ding, dong, due to your extremely high reputation value, you've successfully intimidated the Kingdom of Kent. The kingdom has tacitly allowed you to expand your territory. Ding, dong, due to your extremely high reputation value, you've successfully intimidated the Modil Kingdom. The kingdom has tacitly allowed you to expand your territory. Ding, dong. Due to your extremely high reputation value. World announcement. Player Netherworld has successfully passed the test and become a Tier 3 Lord. As the first Tier 3 Lord in the world, you're hereby rewarded 500,000 gold coins and 5,000 reputation points. Ding, dong. You've triggered a 10,000 times increase and obtained the 5 billion gold coins and 50 million reputation points. In the past few days, Li Cheng had once again recruited a batch of priests from the City of Light. What was worth noting was that this batch of priests was personally delivered to Li Cheng by Asilia. As Li Cheng's reputation value increased and the evil faction declared war on Li Cheng, the Church of Light had also intentionally allocated some resources for Li Cheng. Somehow, Li Cheng's territory had become the battlefield between the two factions. Commander Vic and the archbishops had keen senses. They could smell a strange scent that was different from before. After the portals were connected, Asilia sneaked over. So far, Li Cheng's territory population had close to 230,000 soldiers, and that was not inclusive of Trelafani's believers. The Dark Elves came to his territory one after another from various places. Among them, there were many high-level troops, the worst of which were middle-level troops. However, Li Cheng still did not let Trelafani's believers fight. All they did every day was pray at the profound altar. There were also those forest treants that were chattering every day, which Li Cheng pushed toward the mines. At this moment, the system's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Ding, dong, the skill, Arcane Leakage, has made new progress. A total of 300 experience points have been obtained. Ding, dong, you've triggered a 10,000 times increase. A total of 3 million experience points have been obtained. Ding, dong, Arcane Leakage has been upgraded to level 2. Ding, dong, Arcane Leakage has been upgraded to level 3. Ding, dong. Ding, dong, Arcane Leakage has been upgraded to level 10. Its level has been maxed out. Lillian's slender figure walked out as all the soldier skills were maxed out, increasing their damage coefficients even further. It could be said that the increase was huge. At this time, Li Cheng did not hesitate and immediately began to level up his territory. Ding, dong. You've consumed 10,000 units of wood, stones, and iron ore to upgrade the Lord's Hall to level 31. Ding, dong. You've consumed 15,000 units of wood, stones, and iron ore to upgrade the Lord's Hall to level 32. Ding, dong. Ding, dong. You've consumed 40,000 units of wood, stones, and iron ore to upgrade the Lord's Hall to level 39. Ding, dong. You've consumed 145,000 units of wood, stones, and iron ore to upgrade the Lord's Hall to level 40. Ding, dong. Your Lord's Hall has reached the upper limit. Please, complete the 4th Lord's Quest as soon as possible to unlock the next level. Chapter 158, Currency Exchange System activated. After leveling up his territory, Li Cheng checked its attributes. The population limit of a level 40 territory had reached a terrifying 2,440000. To ordinary players, this amount of troops would take a long time to accumulate. However, to Li Cheng, it would only take less than half a month. Normally, a level 40 territory was the end of the line for ordinary players. If one went any higher, they would have already crossed the bottom line of several empires. If anyone dared to do so, those empires would declare war on them. Moreover, after using the territory expansion coupon, the daily territory growth rate had reached a frightening 25,000 billion Argentine pesos per day. This number was much larger than the total area of ordinary players' territories. At this time, the 4th Lord's Quest appeared. Lord Quest 4. Description: your territory has become a small city in the Lost Continent. Countless people will join your territory. However, note that the various empires will not allow a single player's territory to reach the standard of a medium-sized city. Difficulty: 500 million. Mission details. 1. Military strength is greater than 2,0000000. Among them, advanced military strength is greater than 1,0000000. Legendary military strength is greater than 50,000. 2. Territory size is greater than 1,0000000. 3. Defense score is greater than 10 million. Duration of mission, none. Reward, territory level unlocked. Mission hint: upon completion of the mission, the various empires will issue an ultimatum to declare war on you. Looking at the mission requirements, Li Cheng nodded in understanding. It was not much different from his previous life. There were only a few requirements. The first was the military strength requirement. It required 2 million or more intermediate soldiers. However, the most difficult thing was the 500,000 legendary soldiers. Legendary soldiers were very rare to begin with. 500,000 legendary soldiers would be a very powerful force among the players until a few years later. Only a very small number of top-tier players could possess that amount. However, to Li Cheng, this was not a problem. His soldiers were all at least tier 10 and the daily increase in soldiers was 150,000. He only needed 4 days to reach the requirement. For farming games like Tribe, this time was too short. The second requirement was the size of his territory. Li Cheng currently did not have a good idea about it at this point, so he could only wait for the time to pass. As for the last 2 requirements, Li Cheng simply ignored them. With his current territory standards, he did not know how much higher the limit was. There was also the system's final notification. When Li Cheng saw it, he immediately laughed out loud. It was regarding the Empire's final ultimatum, and the system had even warned him about it. The result? With Li Cheng's current prestige, they did not even dare to say a word. If they really dared to come, that would be great for him. In the future, the empires would definitely be his competitors, and they would most likely be enemies. If they attacked the city, they would all definitely die. As for the new buildings after the territory had been upgraded, Li Cheng only took a brief look at them before shaking his head. He didn't need any of them. After obtaining the Profound Empire's database, Li Cheng had unlocked a large number of buildings, such as alchemy tables, forging tables, trading centers, and so on. Everything in his territory had been replaced with the profound empire's royal buildings. The forging tables were places where ordinary equipment was made. The 9 hammers of doom had come from there. The alchemy tables could be used to make some special potions, but Li Cheng still had a large number of legendary potions on him, so he did not lack them for the time being. As for the Royal Trading Hall, compared to the ordinary trading halls, he had unlocked the auction system as well as the world trade, allowing him to trade with the lords of the world. One had to know that Li Cheng's backpack had all sorts of top-grade equipment, and he had countless part-time jobs. If necessary, he could definitely auction them off. Of course, Li Cheng did not lack money. One had to admit that the hourglass of time was ridiculously strong. One day of Li Cheng farming was equivalent to an ordinary player's 10 days of farming. How could others be in the same league as him? At that moment, Lillian walked out and said to Li Cheng, "Lord, our territory's getting stronger and stronger." Li Cheng smiled and patted her little head. "This is all thanks to everyone. You've all worked hard." Lillian did not speak. Like a kitten, she shrunk her slender neck and looked like she was enjoying it. At this moment, Li Cheng looked at the system time and muttered, "In another half an hour, the system's currency exchange system will be activated. Soon, the various leaderboards will be activated. The activation of the currency exchange system would have a great impact on the entire game. The strength of the various large guilds and factions would soar. The golden age of the unspecialized players was about to pass. Under the effect of the currency exchange, the game's resources would soon be monopolized by the various large guilds." In this regard, countless people were talking about Li Cheng. They felt that his era was coming to an end. After all, in front of the large forces, an individual's strength was too insignificant. If Li Cheng knew what they were thinking, he would definitely laugh until his back ached. Players? Sorry, Li Cheng had long since stopped treating them as opponents. His current opponent was a god. The hour hand pointed to noon, and the system's rumbling sound of notifications rang in the ears of the players. World announcement. Respected players, the currency exchange system is about to be activated. Please, get ready. Alliance announcement. The currency exchange system is a real-time exchange system, guaranteed by the 5 largest banks in the world. The exchange ratio between currencies will change according to the changes in the market. The initial exchange ratio is 1 gold coin equates to 2 currencies. Just as the system finished speaking, a button for currency exchange appeared on the interface of all the players. Then, the system announcement continued to ring, and all the major alliances began to exert their strength. Alliance announcement. Divine Dragon Alliance player Heartless War Soul has successfully exchanged 150 billion gold coins. You've received a special reward, a silver rank membership. Your service fee is permanently reduced by 20%. Alliance announcement. Divine Dragon Alliance player Purple Rose has successfully exchanged 200 billion gold coins. You've received a special reward, a gold rank membership. Your service fee is permanently reduced by 30%. Alliance announcement. Divine Dragon Alliance player Little Rain has successfully exchanged 220 billion gold coins. You've received a special reward, a gold rank membership. Your service fee is permanently reduced by 30%. Chapter 159, A Reward for Netherworld's True Identity. The exchange of currency also required a handling fee. The initial handling fee was 12%, and after the exchange reached a certain level, one could obtain a corresponding membership level with a small deduction of the handling fee. Li Cheng did not have any desire for game currency, because he did not know how much game currency he had now. The announcements flashed by one after another. Only when the number of gold coins exchanged was over 100 billion could an announcement be triggered. Seeing the information of a few godly tycoons exchanging for currency, the players cried out in satisfaction. Watching others spend money was also a form of enjoyment. F***ck, isn't this too crazy? The War Soul Guild exchanged 300 billion coins in one go. How much money does this cost? Hehe, what do you know? War Soul's one of the 3 great guilds in our alliance. I'm sure that this is just the first batch of money that War Soul has invested. It's probably just a test. F***ck, why is the Rose Guild so rich? Didn't they say that Purple Rose didn't have any money? Isn't that little Rain a little too fierce? One person is worth more than the 3 great guilds. Let me count how many zeros this is. Once the currency exchange system was activated, all the big guilds instantly poured in with their funds. Only with sufficient funds could they dominate the market. Then, they would begin to earn profits and earn more money. For a time, the entire tribe became extremely lively. The big guilds were spending money to buy all kinds of equipment and troops. As for the commoners and unaffiliated players, they started to sell gold coins to exchange for some pocket money. Everyone was happy. At this moment, an alliance notice suddenly popped up, attracting the attention of the players. Alliance notice. Divine Dragon Alliance player Peerless Prideful had an accident during the exchange process. 250 billion gold coins have disappeared. When the players saw this announcement, they all laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. The heavens really opened their eyes. Peerless Prideful's actually having such a bad time. Fuck, a total of 250 billion gold coins means he exchanged $500 billion, right? Even a large guild like the Prideful Guild would feel a wave of heartache, right? I used to be a member of Pride, but I've already quit. I don't know if you've heard, but Peerless Pride's a super unlucky bastard. I know. I've heard that something bad has been happening in Pride's territory, either a monster siege or an earthquake. The meteors have never stopped falling on them. That's right. I've heard that Peerless Prideful can't recruit any troops at all. Even if it's the troops of other players, they'd all end up betraying him as long as they fall into his hands. Right now, the Prideful Guild's spending a lot of money to buy troops with permanently maxed out loyalty points. After the various large guilds restocked their gold coins, the loudspeakers that they could not afford to buy suddenly became less valuable. One after another, messages appeared in the Alliance channel. Alliance channel, I, the guild leader of Purple Cloud Guild, would like to invite those who have the will to join us. If you join us, you'll be given the right to recruit Tier 1 soldiers. Alliance channel. The studio is recruiting people offline. This studio is a well-known online game gold farming studio. All kinds of benefits are available, starting from a monthly salary of 5,000 coins. Alliance channel. Once a gentleman, always a gentleman. The recruitment of the Gentleman Guild has begun. Those who are interested in joining, please, send your resume to the following email address, xxxx@cnm.com. Union channel. The Rose Union is recruiting. Sisters, do you still feel that you are lacking in an organization? Join us, and Rose Union will be your strongest support. At this moment, Li Cheng received a message from Little Rain. Hehe, brother Netherworld, I have a lot of money. What do you want to buy? Call me sister, and I'll buy it for you. Brother Netherworld, what if I keep you to myself? I just don't know how good your kung fu is. Come and secretly tell big sister, how big are you? You know I'm not referring to your age. Seeing this news, the corner of Li Cheng's mouth twitched. You want to keep me with just this little bit of money? It's not even enough for me to spend on my territory every day. How big I am? Would you know if you don't try? He did not know if it was the right size, but he was born with the ability to increase his strength by 10,000 times. He was absolutely invincible. However, Li Cheng did not say that. He replied in a speechless manner, have you cleared your secret realms? Little Rain, who was originally happy, suddenly choked. She stammered, "Not yet." "Humph, it's all because of you, brother Netherworld. You're so stingy. Would it kill you to give me a few more bottles of potions? The potions I gave you are definitely enough. You're the useless one." Li Cheng shrugged. Hearing this, Little Rain's face turned red. Li Cheng had indeed given her a few bottles of legendary grade potions, but she thought it was fun to use them in advance. When they were raiding the secret realm and they reached the final boss, the effect of the potions had just worn off. Then, of course, the outcome was overturned. Naturally, Li Cheng would not give her any more potions. This kind of mistake was absolutely unforgivable in Li Cheng's eyes. Little Rain coughed a few times and then changed the topic. She asked, "Brother Netherworld, when are we going to create a guild? Sister wants to play with you." Hearing this, Li Cheng's eyes lit up. How could he have forgotten about this? Guild tokens were dropped one after another once the currency exchange system was activated. As long as a boss above gold grade was killed, there was a chance for it to drop. The higher the tier, the higher the probability. Very soon, Li Cheng replied. "That's good. Remember to inform me when the time comes, brother Netherworld." After Little Rain said that, she chatted with Li Cheng for a while and then hung up. As soon as Little Rain hung up, Purple Rose's call came in as well. Before Li Cheng could speak, Purple Rose spoke in a hurry. Her tone was a little flustered as she said, "Netherworld, what did you do to Peerless Prideful? What's wrong?" Li Cheng asked. Purple Rose paused for a moment before she said, "He's offering a reward of $100 billion to find your true identity. What exactly did you do to him? Also, you didn't expose your identity to anyone, right?" Purple Rose's tone sounded quite anxious. She knew about Peerless Prideful. He was as arrogant as his name, so arrogant that he was a bit of an idiot. However, the game was still a game. Even if he failed, it was foolish to place a bounty on him in the real world. This was clearly a case of silencing him. Unless it was something unforgivable, no one would be that mad. Hearing this, Li Cheng smiled indifferently. "Don't worry, my identity has never been exposed." Chapter 160, The Furious Peerless Prideful. In his new life, Li Cheng was naturally very careful. His real name was only known by Trelafani and Ella. Not even his few female heroes and Pearl knew. The current Peerless Prideful was obviously unable to get in touch with the two goddesses. As for the transfer records in the real world, there were no records at all. Li Cheng had only bought the gaming pod and some nutrient fluids. There were at least a few 100 million people in the world who had these records. No matter how powerful Peerless Prideful was, he would not be able to find these things. When he thought of this, Li Cheng was not worried at all. He said, "I didn't do anything. I just simply cast two of my skills on him." After he finished speaking, Li Cheng briefly explained the effects of the two skills to Purple Rose. After hearing Li Cheng's words, Purple Rose remained silent for a few minutes. After a long while, she finally said, "Netherworld, you're too ruthless." Hearing this, Li Cheng shrugged his shoulders. Was he ruthless? He let out a carefree laugh. If he was not ruthless to his enemies, should he have danced with them and told them about his treasures? On the other hand, Purple Rose was completely stunned by Li Cheng's message. Even in the game world, she could not help but shiver. F***ck, luck value decreased by 99,999, territory population and troop morale decreased by 99%. If Li Cheng had used these two skills on her, she might as well have died. Purple Rose finally understood why Peerless Prideful was said to be a super unlucky guy. She also understood why he would put a bounty on Li Cheng. Anyone would have done the same. Purple Rose did not know what to say, so she hung up the phone after saying, "Forget it. Just be careful. You have to hide your identity. The real world isn't a game." At this moment, on the top floor of a skyscraper in the real world, Peerless Prideful's face was dark as he stared at the computer screen. On the screen, the $500 billion that he had just exchanged had all disappeared. Not a single cent was left for him. Below him were countless men in suits. They lowered their heads and did not dare to breathe loudly, afraid that Peerless Prideful would vent his anger on them. Bang! Peerless Prideful slammed his hand hard on the table. His face was filled with anger as he said, "What the hell is going on?" A beautiful lady in a suit shivered in fear as she quickly said, "Boss, we've already asked the officials. They said that this is the result of the artificial intelligence running on its own. Without finding out the reason, there's nothing they can do about it." The more she spoke, the more furious Peerless Prideful's face became. In the end, Peerless Prideful interrupted her and roared, "Trash! They're all a bunch of trash!" As soon as she finished speaking, there was another bang. The chair beneath Peerless Prideful suddenly broke. It fell heavily to the ground, catching everyone off guard. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. They looked at each other and did not dare to say anything. Could it be that their boss's bad luck had been brought into the real world? After being flustered for a while, Peerless Prideful struggled to get up from the ground. His eyes were extremely fierce, and he seemed as if he wanted to swallow someone alive. He gritted his teeth and said, "What about Netherworld's true identity? Have you found any news on that?" The beautiful office lady pushed up her rimless glasses and said in a low voice, "Boss, Netherworld's very careful. We've investigated all the users who cashed in large sums of money today, and the possibilities have been eliminated." Hearing this, the entire meeting room fell silent. Everyone was at wit's end. Now, whoever the Demon Master spoke to who could not come up with an idea would definitely become his punching bag. At this moment, someone's eyes suddenly lit up as he said in surprise, "Boss, I've thought of an idea." "Speak." Peerless Prideful looked at him expectantly. That subordinate quickly said, "We can't find any information about Netherworld, but Pearl definitely has a special relationship with him. We can start with Pearl." Hearing these words, Peerless Pride was instantly delighted. The relationship between Pearl and Netherworld had been trending on the forum over the last few days. Even a fool could tell that their relationship was not ordinary. Some players speculated that Pearl and Netherworld were boyfriend and girlfriend. To verify the truth, this player even posted pictures of Pearl frequently entering and leaving the Netherworld's territory. Then, he confirmed this news with proof. Thinking of this, Peerless Prideful let out a long sigh of relief. His depressed mood from the past few days was instantly lifted. That was right. He had no idea where to start with Netherworld's identity, but he could start with his woman. He looked around at his subordinates and asked, "Have you found out Pearl's attributes?" When he asked this, his subordinates fell silent again. The one who came up with the idea lowered his head and said, "I can't seem to find her yet." Peerless Prideful's expression froze for a moment before he slammed his fist on the table again. "Trash! Good for nothing! You're talking about all this when you can't even find anything." This kind of mood fluctuation caused Peerless Prideful's blood pressure to soar. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Everyone shrunk their necks and did not dare to speak. Pearl, a well-known unspecialized player in the Divine Dragon Alliance, had been famous for God knows how many years. Yet, her real identity had never been exposed. It was impossible to find anything about her. If she could be found, she would have been found a long time ago. She would not have waited for Tribe to have her identity uncovered so easily. With the appearance of various systems, it meant that Tribe's game world and the modern world's integration had taken a step forward. After that, with the integration of the two worlds, there would be new systems. For example, there would be various rankings, various tournaments, various competitions, and an achievement system that would appear in the future. They would all be released one after another. Thinking of this, Li Cheng decided to take some time to go back to the real world. The more powerful one was, the more sensitive one would be. As for Li Cheng's attributes, they were simply too strong. He, too, wanted to see how far he had progressed.